This is the month of May, and it's customary to celebrate Visak, the day of the full moon in the month of May. The full moon this month occurred on May the 5th. Nevertheless, the celebration called Visak is the most sacred day in millions of for Buddhists around the world. Visak is the celebration of three major life transformations for Siddhartha Gautama, who later became the Buddha. He was born on a full moon day of May 2.5 millennia ago in the year 623 BC. And then on the full moon day of May in the year 588 BC, Siddhartha Gautama was enlightened and became the Buddha. And then on the full moon day of May in the year 543 BC, the Buddha died at the age of 80. So this morning, as part of UUG's Insight Meditation community, we are very grateful for this invitation to celebrate Visak with you. So we live in an age of manipulation and lies, and in the advent of artificial intelligence, it is only with mindful attention and critical thinking that will allow us to live free and autonomous lives. How can we critically discern authentic truth from the conspiracies and the manipulations of greed, hatred, and delusion? In our spiritual connectedness to meditation, the answer can be found in the Kalamana Sutta. And I'd like to share this sutta and other Buddhist teachings that illustrate our common place with Unitarian Universalists. This is a teaching named for the Kalama people who lived at the time of the Buddha. The Kalama people listened to many monks and Brahmins who traveled and passed through their villages, expounding and explaining their own truth, and their own teachings, while rejecting and critically attacking the teachings of others. The Kalama people were so confused, they went to the Buddha and asked, which of the traveling monks speak the truth? In the Kalama Sutta is the answer. This teaching was true at the time of the Buddha 2,600 years ago, and is equally true in this modern era. And this is what it says. Don't believe in anything simply because you have heard it. Don't believe in anything simply because it is spoken and taught by many. Do not believe in anything simply because it is written down. Do not believe in anything merely on the authority of your teachers or elders. And do not believe in traditions that have been handed down for many generations. But after mindful observation and careful investigation, you find teachings that agree with reason and are conducive to the goodwill and benefit of one and all, then accept it and live up to it. Here in this teaching, we are offered a rational and critical teaching for understanding the nature of life and spiritual liberation. That mindfulness aims at seeking things that are truly seeking. Mindfulness aims at seeing things as they truly are. It puts emphasis on the supreme importance of having an unprejudiced mind before we start our own investigations. It helps to remember the 4 biases that have to be sacrificed at the threshold of mindfulness: our prejudice, passion, the fear of expression of one's own convictions, and 4th, ignorance and not knowing. When it comes to our own existential issues, the Kalama teachings offer us wisdom that directly supports us in our struggles, yet it does not tell us how to make our values and concerns an integral part of what we do, nor how to find ethical guidance on dilemmas that emerge in the modern era. A good place to start is to point to all the places in the scriptures where the Buddha said, "It was up to those who heard him to discover for themselves whether or not the teachings are true." The instructions for the Kalama teaching is justly famous for its encouragement of free inquiry. The spirit of the sutta signifies a teaching that is exempt from fanaticism, bigotry, dogmatism, and intolerance. As mindful practitioners, we recognize that all the teachings are to be found within our own bodies and minds. No longer do we have to look outside of ourselves for solutions. For so long, we have been trying to understand ourselves through books and through the eyes of other people. In our mindfulness practice, we see there is a way to directly and intimately explore our own heart minds. This is the transformative moment when we go from an intellectual appreciation of what is true for me to the faith and confidence that awakening is possible and that we can do it from our own inner knowing. It is all within us. We are what we are looking for. You are looking for what is looking. The Kalama Sutta shows that the reason for a virtuous life does not necessarily depend on belief in rebirth or retribution, but on mental well-being. Mental well-being acquired through overcoming greed, hatred, and delusion. When we learn to live in a world permeated with love, compassion, joy, and equanimity, we find strength and clarity to act as situations demand of us. We know what needs to be done. We know how to cultivate our heart and minds in ways that support our call to action. Whether our work succeeds or not, we will be acting on our values. The virtuous life we live will be its own reward. Both Buddhism and Unitarian Universalism teach that all of our actions have consequences. In Buddhism, it's known as the light of the world because it illuminates how our lives unfold and why many things happen to us the way they do, rather than the way we want them to be. We understand awakening to be a gradual understanding of our connectedness to everything else, rather than being a separate and permanent, distinct from the rest of the universe. We learn to see ourselves as transient and truly part of the greater whole. This notion is very similar, if not identical, to the UU seventh principle. It says respect for the interconnected web of all existence of which we are all a part. And this is not Buddhism's only similarity with Unitarian Universalists. I found we share the teachings on the laws of cause and effect. Buddhism and Unitarianism value many of the same things, including experiential practice, study and self-inquiry, mindful awareness, cultivation of insight, development of wisdom and loving kindness, combined with compassion in action. It's hardly surprising to find that Buddhism and Unitarian Universalists often find a home together, as I have in my own life. We are all Buddhists at heart. Our true spiritual task is to awaken to who and what we are, recognize ourselves and each other, and awaken together for a better world and a better future. In closing, I use affirmations a lot in my teachings. And I use affirmations because they aim to replace negative and self-limiting thoughts with positive and empowering ones that encourage us to take action to manifest peace and happiness in our own lives. May these affirmations wash over you and sink deeply into your heart-mind. May I open my heart to the universe to accept love and healing. May I open my heart to the universe to accept love and healing. May I experience each day as a sacred gift woven around my heart and spirit. May I experience each day as a sacred gift woven around my heart and spirit. May I live this day compassionate of heart, clear in word, gracious in awareness, courageous in thought, and generous in love. May I live this day compassionate of heart, clear in word, gracious in awareness, courageous in thought, and generous in love. May I awaken to the mystery of being here and enter the quiet immensity of my own presence. May I awaken to the mystery of being here and enter the quiet immensity of my own presence. May I have joy and peace in the temple of my senses. And remember, in the end, when all is said and done, only three things matter. How well did I live? How well did I love? And how well did I learn to let go?